Does eating 6 small meals boost your metabolism? That is what I'm going to be talking about in this week's little mini training. And if you're brand new to the group, hey, and welcome. My name is Haley. I'm a board certified health and wellness coach, and I have dedicated my career to helping women in midlife that are struggling with weight gain and low energy levels and just wanting to feel more in control of their body. And I do a little live every single week where we kind of dive into a topic that's related to just that whole struggle. And again, today we're going to be talking about how often you should be eating when it comes to boosting your metabolism, trying to lose weight, fat loss, all that good stuff. And if you are joining me live, and I'm just opening up my Facebook here to see who's here so I can say hello. But if you are joining me live, just put a live in the comments. And if you're catching this on a replay, put a replay in the comments and say hello. Tell me where you're joining me from today. So you have probably heard, and I certainly know that I grew up hearing this all the time, that if you eat, small meals throughout the day, you keep your engine going, or you burn more calories, or you rev the metabolism, or whatever it may be. And a number of years ago, there was this belief that if we ate frequent meals throughout the day, we would boost our metabolism. We would which basically means we would burn more calories through something called the thermic effect of food. And if you've never heard of this term, thermic effect of food, sometimes referred to as TEF, thermic effect of food, what it basically means is it's the amount of calories that we burn just to digest and absorb our food. So when we eat whatever it is that we're eating, we have to digest it, and that process of digestion burns calories. And some foods will burn more than others. But the theory was that by eating more often, by doing these small meals throughout the day, you would stimulate this thermic effect of food more often, which would lead you to a faster metabolism. And you can see how within the context of weight loss, this is important to understand, because obviously we want to know, or what one of the things that we're trying to do is we have to make sure that we are burning additional calories more so than what our bodies require in order to create that deficit that's going to give us fat loss. And potentially this thermic effect of food would be something that we could utilize, a strategy that we could utilize in order to create that caloric deficit. Now, the research, interestingly, again, this is definitely, this idea is definitely, I think it probably is more like something that we heard about 10 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago. But I think for a lot of us, because we grew up with this being given this message, I think for a lot of women, they still think that this is what they need to do, that they need to eat these frequent small meals throughout the day. But what the research has shown, and I will post a link below this video, is that it doesn't actually, that this whole idea of eating frequently is overrated. And that whether you eat 3 600-calorie meals, for example, or 6 300-calorie meals, the thermic effect of food is the same. So there's no advantage to eating multiple meals or 5 to 6 meals throughout the day. So what does this mean to you if you are trying to lose weight? Should you be eating 6 meals a day, or should you be eating 3 meals a day? So I'm going to give you sort of my opinion and a couple of things to think about, because there's no right or wrong answer here, but I want to give you some things to think about and some things to look at with regards to your sort of, I guess, habits when it comes to food. So one of the things of eating these smaller meals is that potentially it can keep hunger at bay. right? And when I am helping my clients, I often tell them that I don't want them to wait until they are extremely hungry to start planning out their meal, because once we're extremely hungry, that's when we make poor food choices. So I think one of the major benefits of these smaller meals throughout the day is that because we're constantly giving our body food, we're keeping hunger at bay, which potentially gives us an uphand in making better choices. That being said, there are some cons to eating smaller meals per day. And again, I want you to think about what I'm going to say and take a look at what you're doing and see if you recognize yourself here. One of the bigger problems, I think, when it comes to this idea of eating smaller meals throughout the day is that I think it can easily turn into just grazing on snack food, right? So instead of creating meals, which is what they do in the bodybuilding industry, where they're eating meals, real meals, 5 times a day of, let's say, chicken, broccoli, sweet potato, steak, salad, rice, or whatever it may be. Doing that 5 or 6 times a day is very different from having a couple of cheese and crackers and then having, some hummus and vegetables, and then having this and then having that. Like, just grazing on snack food is very different, because if you're just grazing on snack food in small quantities throughout the day, then you're potentially not giving your body the nutrients that it needs. Specifically, you might end up with wonky ratios of not enough protein, too many carbs, not enough veggies, or whatever it may be, because you're not building actual meals, you're just kind of grazing. And that might not be to your advantage. The other big thing or problem that I see with this smaller meal approach is that, if you've heard me talk about muscle protein synthesis before, we need a certain amount of protein per meal in order to trigger the production or the building of muscle. And as women in midlife, this is something that we need to be thinking of, because we are aging, and part of aging is that we start to see age-related muscle mass loss, or sarcopenia. And one of the strategies for preventing that is getting sufficient protein, but also making sure that you're getting a certain bolus of protein to get enough of the amino acids necessary to kind of get the body to start building muscle. And you need about 30 grams of protein for that to happen. And if you're eating little snacks, you might be getting 10 grams of protein here and 12 grams of protein there and another 15 in that snack, but never giving your body enough of a bolus of protein to trigger that muscle protein synthesis. So that can potentially be a problem. And then the third sort of potential problem could be the impact of these smaller meals on your insulin levels. So typically speaking, the body can be in the fed state or the fasted state. The fed state, you just had a meal. The fasted state, your meal was a while ago, and now the energy or the calories from that meal have been used up, and your body is searching for energy elsewhere. And so if you can imagine, when you're in the fed state and you're giving your body plenty of calories, it's utilizing those calories and potentially storing those calories for later use. When you're in the fasted state, there is no energy coming in from food, and your body has to find it elsewhere. Hopefully your fat cells, but also from storage in your liver or storage in your muscles, or wherever it's coming from. So if we're having 3 meals, we kind of go through this period of fed, and then we drop into the fasted state. Fed, fasted, fed, fasted. Whereas if we're having 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 meals a day, we don't really get into that fasted state in between meals. We're constantly in that fed state. And there's definitely an argument that increases, or not increases, insulin, but it just keeps our blood glucose and our insulin levels up, and can potentially slow down the process of weight loss, because we're not shifting into finding calories from our stored fat cells, or from our liver, or from our muscles. So just a couple of things to consider. And I guess what it boils down to is, again, just understand that this concept that you have to consume 6 meals a day to keep your metabolism revving, that is wrong. And the research has shown that it's wrong. And some of the research even suggests that having 3 bigger meals a day, will increase the thermic effect of feeding, as opposed to the other way around. So just keep that in mind. And then the last little piece of advice that I would give you is just, I want you to understand that there are certain foods that are going to increase the thermic effect of food. The biggest one being protein. So when it comes to protein, this is a stat that I want you to remember. When you are eating protein, 20 to 30% of the calories that you eat get burnt up just by eating, just by that process of digestion and absorption. So I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. However you choose to eat, protein should be the center of your meals. That should be where you should be protein forward or protein centric. That should be the first decision you make when you're trying to decide what to eat. And from there, you can build around it. But definitely including that protein, here's one more advantage. It's going to increase the thermic effect of food and overall help with your weight loss efforts. So there you have it. I hope that that was helpful and that it gave you some insight into how your metabolism works and different strategies that you can use to facilitate fat loss as a woman in midlife. My sort of approach when I'm thinking of how I can help women in midlife, the pillars that I like to work on, number one is macros. So the ratio of protein to carbs to fat. Number 2 is anti-inflammatory nutrition. Number 3, obvious movement with a focus on resistance training. Number 4 would be hormone sensitive intermittent fasting. And number 5 would be mindset. So helping you get into that mindset that progress is better than an all or nothing mindset where you're either on a diet or off a diet. I want you to be constantly thinking about your nutrition, not just wavering between feeling like you're on top of it and then feeling like, what's the point? Okay. So if you feel like you need more help or more support in this area, I have a couple of different ways that I can help. The number one thing that I would tell you to do is jump on my newsletter. Every Tuesday, I send out a sample meal plan. I show you what I eat in a day. I'll show you what those macros are, and I'll give you some tips on improving your midlife nutrition. So that's number one. I'll post a link to the newsletter below. Number 2, if you need more support, I have got a number of programs that can help you, starting from about $30 a month all the way to $350 a month for those of you that need that hand holding, that support, and want to get a fast track so that you just know what to do. If you are interested, message me. I can send you more details about the program and help you figure out if any of it is a good fit for you. I thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you all again next week. Bye.